Hi, everybody.
Like you were snapping there. What was
This
that?
is this is the Lynn and Scott show, and today I have Scott Scooter instead of Scott Jones. Our Scott, his voice is he was training today, and he has no voice, so he didn't want to show up. So no, Scott, feel better. Hopefully you'll be back next week. So I have Mr. Scooter Scott, Mr. Scott Schilling here with Barry and Rex and John, the great crew here. So we're
We're
just
here to
trying to,
carry through as we all see it.
yeah, as we all see it. And as we all see it, we got many words, but no topic right now. So we're going to try to figure out a topic on the fly.
Something came up for me, actually, because you're talking about Scott losing his voice. Maybe we should talk about the voice, as in inside voice, outside voice, things we do with our voice, what we don't do with our voice.
Yeah.
Play with that if you wanted to, just an idea.
What's
Why don't we
the
just
meaning of losing your voice?
Why don't we just mime the show?
Could do that.
That's easy. Just mute and pretend you're talking.
That is actually, I do have working knowledge on the show, The Voice.
Yeah, and the voice.
I was on The Voice once.
Really?
I was a backup singer in a group that was there. Yeah, this is going back, I don't know, 10 years ago now.
Wow.
Can we find that on YouTube?
Probably, yeah.
If you tell us the person's name, we'll have to go look that
I can't
up.
remember his name now. I can't find it after the show. Sorry, I'm not going to give it to you now.
No, I know.
Basically, what happened is that just since we're talking about that,
Yeah.
one of the guys, the voice called the guy who was at that time the assistant choir director for the spiritual center I go to, and said, can you bring a bunch of people, like it's 40 people all together, like 20 men, 20 women, and I had to be at the center for something else. I was doing some other stuff around the day, and they said, you want to jump in, because apparently they were one guy short, and I didn't know the song, so they actually had me mime, which is ridiculous. It's so funny, but they had me go there one day for rehearsal and then come back the next day to actually shoot it. And so I ended up being with the bus and became very close with the choir members. It was kind of fun. And we basically got to do this whole moves and stuff behind him on stage. He was in the semis, I think. I don't remember now. He was a white guy. I think it was, I'm trying to think, some song was Lean on Me, I think. I know I've got to find it now. I don't remember now.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, you barely see me. I'm in the middle of the groups. You don't really see me much anyway, because they scanned the choir very quickly to get to the featured, soloist and the judges, of course.
Were you singing or were you watermelon it?
I was miming. I was lip syncing because I wasn't trained to be in the choir.
You know, it's
very
funny.
nice. So you were in perfect voice.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because we do things like that from years ago. I was helping out with the extreme makeovers here in Billings, Montana, like in 2006. I was helping with the media and stuff like that. So I'm in little parts, like, scanning the stuff, but working on productions and stuff like that. You take so many takes and stuff like that. So and then you forget you were on TV. So.
Oh, I've been on TV a few times now. I mean,
Yeah,
a couple of times I was in the background of something being shot by, local news, but I was actually on a show on Animal Planet, a dog intelligence show. It was really funny. The funny thing is that I couldn't use my dog. I had to use the dog they had on set, which is like, why can't I use my own dog?
Doesn't seem appropriate.
No, it was an agility type thing. So, whatever.
And let's not forget,
fascinating the backstories of the people who are coming on The Voice. And I love a good Phoenix Rising, story, when somebody comes from, they finally either get their break or they've had a break in the past, kind of lost it or had some kind of challenge along the way, and then come back through. I think it's pretty fascinating to see those great opportunities, for people to now be living their dreams. I think it's very cool.
And
yeah,
also,
because it's no longer through it's not the record company's choice. It becomes the choice of people who are independent. There may be some behind the scenes stuff going on, but at the same time, they get to be seen by the public, which is great as well, especially with the modern technology where they get things by streaming instead of by CDs. It's an easier way to get known, which is great.
Also, American Idol had some great stories so far this year too. So that's pretty cool. And, let's not forget, we do have somebody owns a SAG card or has a SAG card that's on this panel now.
So I've killed people on television.
Yeah.
And can we find that documentation on the internet?
And no, we don't have Alec Baldwin.
It's out there, but what I loved when American Idol was one of my favorite shows because, and this is important for what we do and for people who want to change and transform, is you had Simon Cowell playing the bad guy, in the early days of the show, where he was brutally to the point, going, here's what you need to do to make it. If you don't do it, you're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
People go, well, I'm not going to pay any attention to that. I'm going to do it anyway. And to some extent, that's a good thing. I mean, this is the history of success is people who don't listen to prevailing experts and wisdom and, that kind of stuff and forge their own way. But at the same time, what he was giving people was extremely valuable. He wasn't blowing smoke up their butt. He was telling them exactly what, in his experience, they needed to do to succeed. When I was a young actor, 17, 18, 19 in Hollywood, I so desperately wanted someone like that. I just tell me what I'm doing wrong, tell me what I'm doing right. So when I did my podcast, Rex Sikes Movie, and I still do it, but it's what to do, what you do right and what you do wrong, what to do and what not to do in order to have a career. And so I would sit just fascinating, with what he was going to say or what he said or what he liked or what he didn't like, because, he was really on target so much. And, it was a totally valuable experience to learn. Because of the controversy that they created, they got better ratings. I mean, if he was nice and said it, it wouldn't be as popular a show probably, and it would have fallen in years. But when he was tough and doing the tough guy thing, it was really, good for the viewer to understand what it takes in order to succeed, and it was good for the participant in the same way to get feedback from somebody in the industry that could make or break their career and go, here, I'm paying attention to you. I mean, what a incredible opportunity.
You talk about like Simon Cowell when he would be really harsh.
Yeah, because that was the character he was playing at the time. I mean,
absolutely.
Nobody knew that when the show first started here. You just thought, oh, wow, this guy's a dick.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. He was actually being spot on with so many things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing that people don't understand is it, that's a big part of, as a coach, sharing with people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And there's no way of improving. Feedback is the only way to modify, right? You go out, you do the very best you possibly can. And it's not until you get the feedback that you know how you can modify to make whatever kind of level of improvement there is. So
I love that you said that.
No, I totally agree with you. Barry?
I think the hard thing now is so many people nowadays are so sensitive. Oh, don't say that. You can't say that. You're hurting my feelings. And it's crap, to be honest with you. I did have a brush with greatness this morning, though, at 10 o'clock. The wonderful Scott Schilling came to my team meeting that I do every Tuesday, and he blew the pants off of everybody. I was still getting comments, Scott, so greatly appreciated. I mean, what the impact you gave and just the takeaways, and it was like a squirrel.
You're still commenting on Scott.
My kids are even saying, what did he do? No, so it was awesome. No, but I think the feedback is really the tough part now, because you look at years ago, people don't retire from the same job for 30 years. They don't pay off their mortgage for 30 years. Rates are good. They don't do things for a long period of time. So
the guy's a master at sneaking in mortgage every week.
Oh, yeah, he's so good.
Hey, John, would you just pay my mortgage? Why don't you take it over?
No, I think all you should pay mine. Well, I'm putting up a GoFundMe. So
He's got more plugins than a plugin does.
I think what some of the issues are is, you have this younger person that could be a great employee, but if you offend them, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere else. They're gone. So you look at resumes now that you get for younger folks, and it's 9, 10 jobs. So it's a fine line. You got to walk that HR line. You have to praise them when they want to be praised, but God forbid, you gotta give them a write-up, and because you could lose them in a second. But again, there's always another one to take their place. But it's just a weird market.
And what's sad is back in the day when we, Gen Xers, when we got picked on, what we did is we took that as fuel and fire, and we made ourselves better. We didn't sit there and complain, to be picked on. We just, sucked picked it up and we did better. We didn't sit there and pout. We just did something about it.
You learned your lesson. You went back to work and don't do it again.
Yeah, it was the constructive criticism. You took it to do better, and and learn from it. So
that's a great. The idea of feedback is a marvelous thing. You can get feedback from your friends and your family, from strangers. Somebody can like, stop that, and they tell people, strangers can, give feedback to my kids, and scare them into doing something. But the swiftest feedback, the most important feedback that most people miss is life. It's you try something and it doesn't work out, you fall on your face. That's feedback. But some people buckle and complain and pray and scream and yell and whine and because instead of understanding, that's no different than someone yelling at you. Hardship is feedback. Hardship is telling you, hey, there's a different way to do it. And I'm a firm believer that even though we evolved through whatever, and we went through those gladiator days of, I'm the toughest guy on the block and I will take out any other gladiator, and people struggled, and then we went through factory stuff. I'm convinced that the whole point of life is to party, thrive, live, enjoy life, not struggle, not work, not pay taxes and die, but to enjoy it. But the most immediate form of feedback is what's going on around you. We think in terms of like people give feedback, but the universe gives us feedback. We give ourselves feedback, but most people don't pay attention to that. They just bitch about it.
So
yeah, I think it's a prime. That's a great point. The reality, and that was one of the things we talked about this morning with John's group, is nobody can reject you but you. So it's not what anybody says to you that matters. It's what you say to you after they stop talking. So I mean, do you take it as feedback? Do you take it as constructive? You take it as, is it possible? Could I get better if I listen to what's being said here? Or, oh my God, I can't believe they're picking on me. One person could say, oh my God, I can't believe they're picking on me. And the next person could say, gosh, thank you so much for supplying me the constructive criticism. And I think there is a difference in through the ages, through the generations, as to how that information has been disseminated. I mean, I think back to the days I had a football coach at one point would just about whip your ass for anything. And I mean, literally whip your ass. Mm-hmm. And of course that went away. You can't whip people anymore, and I'm never suggesting that it was good in the first place. But the point is that it was a way of learning through a period of time. I'm not endorsing it, not suggesting it was a great way. I'm just suggesting it was a way, and we learned to get through those things. So, I mean, the reality is I find it, I was watching a Reels yesterday, and this girl was in a grocery store, and she was probably 17, 18 years old, still in high school, has a job. And she picked up a packet of chicken that had 3 small chicken breasts in it. And she said, I have to work a whole hour and I can't even buy this.
Wow.
Right. But it was like the shock of it. Well, those things have changed throughout the years consistently. And you have to realize, yeah, possibly. So that's why we educate ourselves. That's why we learn to deliver more value. That's why, because when we deliver more value, we can have more resources to buy more chicken, serve more people, help more people. Thanks. Barry, were you going to say something before? Did I cut you off?
It's passed by now. I'm just thinking what else I can talk about at the present. I would say one thing. I do agree with Rex, though, that being on the planet is not a drudgery curse. It's actually a chance to thrive and grow. However, we live on a planet that basically is generally leaning towards the negative in terms of feedback, in terms of inspiration, everything else. So it requires more effort on our parts to stay positive, to stay focused on where we want to go. And the thing is, in feedback, really it takes negative feedback to change.
Yeah.
Positive feedback generally is encouragement or keep doing the same thing. So if you want to change and you don't like what you're doing, you kind of want to look for the negative feedback, not critical feedback that's negative. You want to you want to see critical feedback that's positive, like in constructive and helping you get where you want to go. Because when you give feedback to somebody else and they messed up whatever it is, that the default way we do things is like, you did wrong, you did this wrong, you're bad, and everything else. If we stop to think for a second, especially around kids, and say, you know what, I love what you're doing, and this will be better. So you build them up, and then you add to that, give them a direction to go in. That's really the best way we can learn, ideally.
Yeah, very much so. I had mentioned to somebody today because we were talking about change and how people resist change.
Mm-hmm.
And I said,
hey, talk about dollars.
Yeah.
I wish we were talking about dollars, but the point is I said the pain of not changing has to get greater than the pain of changing.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it has to be that way sometimes. But that's why I respect what John does so much for this team on Tuesdays, that he brings people in to work to provide encouragement, to provide knowledge, to provide insights in different things. But it's also interesting to observe how they learn, what they do. The styles are so different today, from that side.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember a statement from a long time ago was kind of the idea being is when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you'd be willing to change.
Yeah.
Because most people will put up with stuff for a long time before they realize they want to change, do something different. And that's the thing is to recognize for ourselves, it's kind of like how much we're going to put up with and stay the same, or how much we're going to say, you know what, I know I can do better than this, or I have different from this, or change from this, and then make that change.
Well, I love this. I love what you said, because almost all of our innovation comes because of discomfort.
Right.
Because we leave our comfort zones in order to make things better. And some people make it worse for other people. And then those people have the opportunity to make it better in spite of the opposition that they're facing. To what you said a moment ago, Scott, Barry, the idea being the world is whatever the world is. And people tend to complain and whine and blame and hate each other and hurt each other and all that kind of stuff. But that's our gift. That is our gift. Because if it weren't there, none of us would change. We'd just be lying on a beach somewhere, and which isn't necessarily a bad thing unless, of course, it is.
Can I get in on that study?
Do you ever see the movie Wall-E?
Lynn said the thing about the two things. I want to tell you two stories. Very brief. As a young actor, I knew an acting coach. He was my friend. I said, I want to be in your acting class. And he said, okay, I'll put you in the advanced class, because he'd known my work. And I said, no, I want to go to your beginner class. He goes, no, you go to the advanced. I said, no, I want you to go to the beginner class. I want you to rip me a new one. And boy, did he ever. I mean, he took me at my word. And it was brutal. In like, it was 1977, 78, 79, something like that. It was brutal. But in coming through it, it was so much better. And I realized that, the only way that you do get better is like steel is forged in great heat, and diamonds are forged under pressure, and all this kind of stuff. That those analogies, those metaphors, are really accurate.
Yeah.
We get honed. I guess I want to be careful how I say this, but the point is that every bad thing that's happened to me, whether it's an abuse or something horrible or whatever, to me is a stepping stone to greatness. It's not, and so bad things happen to a lot of people, and some people, God bless them. I'm not trying to criticize them, but some people buckle from what's happened, and other people thrive as a result of what happened. They may not at first. They have to come to an understanding and a release and a let go, and a transformational moment. But there are people who go back and go, in 1979, this happened to me, and I've never been the same since. And other people go, if it hadn't been for that thing in 1979, I wouldn't be who I am today. So the ability to get feedback, no matter how hard or how uncomfortable it is, it's an incredible blessing. And yet most people they don't go, well, I'm really happy I'm being blessed right now with misery. But that it really is what we get to go through in order to find out who we really are. Because if we're not given that opportunity, we don't really ever find out who we really truly are. We just live with the conditioning that we were brought up with.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's just like some people may have their fortunes of billions and millions because unfortunately they were in an accident. And because of that accident, they ended up with the millions and billions. They may not have a limb. They may have something happen to them. But now that they got the millions and billions, they can make a difference in life. And, and they've told their stories and able to help other people so that things don't happen to other people. And, so things become a blessing from mishaps and stuff. So, even when you get bad customer service, companies, if you allow them, they do good from what's happened to you if you allow them to make it better. So, it's can be a blessing in disguise when something like that happens to you. But you choose to decide whether you want to look at the negative or the positive to that situation. And some people get stuck in the story of what happened, but they never talk about the outcome and, and the way they perceive it, So, and everything has a negative and a positive. And I think that's what everyone forgets. Not everything is rosy. Not everything is bad. And that's why I love Rex's book, Life on Your Own Terms. And I think we always forget there's always going to be a sunny day and there's going to be a cloudy day, but the cloudy day has a sunny day and vice versa. And that's why I love this show as we all see it, because we need to see and always find in the myths of all the problems in the world, there's always good and there's always a great outcome out of every lesson. But that doesn't sell the papers sometimes. We know that.
Well, it's interesting. I was looking at LinkedIn a couple weeks ago, and a friend of mine posted, thank God my 6-year-old hit my 3-year-old in the head with a golf club. You'd find it hard to believe that I would be celebrating this on LinkedIn. But because he hit him in the head, we had to do an MRI, and we found a tumor that was operable, and they went in and got it immediately. And so, again, I think there's a lot of things. It's, part of what we talked about again this morning is how do you come through? I said I had some things happen yesterday that were just like kicks in the gut. And you go, damn, that was no fun. But today was a new day. And I got to start, and it was interesting that the topic for the group this morning is how do you go on when you've been kicked in the gut? Well, I had just had the experience. So literally, did I need the experience to be able to talk about it? Probably not. Right. But the fact is, today then became a fabulous day prior to afterwards. And because of going, you know what? That wasn't fun. I didn't like that result. Don't want to feel that again. What can I do differently today to feel something different? And it's been a fabulous day.
So I would add, because I said I'd tell you two stories. One was, when I was in junior high in the 60s and stuff, we all had long hair and we had to fight to wear blue jeans because it wasn't appropriate. Anyway, we had the teachers would come by and some of them would punch us in the face or knock us down and throw us up against the locker, take out a scissors, cut your hair off, and go, don't come to school with long hair anymore. And nobody sued them.
Right.
I mean, a first grader, the nun in my Catholic school, when I was in grade school, they broke somebody's arm. Nobody sued anybody at the time. Now, that's not to say this was right. I'm not saying this is good.
No.
What I'm saying is most of us who are of a certain age lived without helmets, lived without safety wheels, lived without knee pads and wrist bracelets, lived with coming home when the street lights went on and things like that, and lived through some pretty brutal treatment by strangers or by caregivers. And today we try to prevent people from going through that. And I think rightly so. I'm not, because there are people who criticize the people today going, well, they're all coddled. They don't have any experience. We have, no, what they're trying to do, right or wrong, they're trying to save people from going through suffering. And I can't fault that. But at the same time, if if there are those people who went through those tough times and today still blame those tough times, and there are those people who went through those tough times and it doesn't, who cares? I think psychology has done us a huge disservice to say you're wounded and you've grown scar tissue, and unless you take care of it, you're going to be wounded all your life. I think that can be the case, but I don't think it has to be the case. And I think the goal is to say, hey, you know what? I got wounded, but the body heals. I got my heart wounded. I got my mind wounded. I got my emotions wounded. I was sexually wounded, whatever. But I'm a healing being, and so the opportunity is to heal. And it's we're so lucky and so blessed that we get to experience whatever we experience. The key to getting gut punched is to instead of complaining, and I mean we all get gut punched. I think on the panel, but the point is, and anywhere, is to go, what's the good that's coming from this? Because there is good. I just don't see it now. I'm busy focused on the pain or the suffering. But ultimately, like finding that tumor, there's something hidden inside it. There's a jewel. There's a pearl in the oyster. You just can't see it when the oyster is closed. And so the pain or the suffering is wrenching that oyster open so that you find the pearl. And that pearl is who you truly are inside, in spite of all the conditioning and in spite of all the things that happen, good or bad to you. Our histories are bogus. It's just the things that we remember. They may or not be accurate anyway. But it's such a blessing to be able to, I mean, I hate to put it this way, but it's a blessing to be able to suffer and come through it because you trust that you can get through it, as opposed to fighting it. Because the more you fight it, the longer you suffer.
Well, it's like focusing on the negative, you get stuck with it, because basically it's kind of like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger type thing. The reality is that oftentimes things come along and we don't realize we're stronger than what it is in the first place. That's the other part. We have to remember how powerful we really are, because sometimes we play victim because we think that's what we should do. And so to choose not to react to something or to fall down into the pit of despair because something didn't work out, we can rise above it and recognize, like, you know what, that didn't work. One of the acronyms from FAIL is first attempt in learning. Doesn't mean you screwed up and you're done. It means maybe you made a mistake. That's the thing, is there's always opportunities to try new things. And frankly, if you're still alive, you got more things to do.
Yeah.
But the other side is we've all been through everything we've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know that? We're all here.
Yeah.
Right.
The fact is, we, no matter what, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, we've all made it through everything that we've been up against. Now, do we have nicks? Do we have wounds? Do we have, great expressions of love? Do we have all those? We've got it all. Mm-hmm. It becomes a big part of, again, I think, what we focus on, and saying, yesterday wasn't such a great day. Today I'm going to make it a great day. I'm going to focus on different things. I'm going to come out with a good attitude. I'm going to start fresh because I can. We talk about choice so often on this show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We can choose to be miserable. We can choose to be happy. We can. I said to a friend at lunch today, I said, it's funny. Today was day 165 in a row of posting on 20 different social platforms a 1.5 minute message. That's nice. 3,458 messages. Now, I don't know if anybody's even seen them, nor does it really matter to me.
Right.
Because I'm doing what I can do to move that. I have fun making them. It feels great. And I can tell you, every once in a while, you get somebody that comments and say, boy, I needed that today. So it's so interesting how I've talked multiple times on this show about how people overcomplicate the sales process. And it's only 4 words: identify problem, provide solution. That's all it is. It's not that big a deal. To a certain extent, life is much the same. It's not that big a deal. I get it. We can get as wrapped up in it as we want to be. But at the same time, we can also just go, hey, stuff happens. Hopefully it's good stuff. Sometimes it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lynn Mr. Q, because I always say dog shit are diamonds, but Barry, pointed out that it's first attempt in learning and not F an a-hole idiot loser.
Right.
Stop
Okay.
criticizing. No, I'm kidding. But stop criticizing yourself for the world and just understand that it's the first attempt in learning, that there's something else that's coming along. And, I've watched people, for 50 years in workshops. And I've done it myself. Draw a picture. And so somebody starts to draw and they screw their face up. They're all like, I hate drawing. I'm no good at it. And I'm kind of like, well, who died and made you God? You're trying something that you don't do regularly, and you're criticizing yourself before you even produce the result. So your process is being impeded because your attitude is such like, I suck. I'm not going to go to. That self-talk isn't helping. I'm an effing a-hole idiot loser, and I can't draw. And again, how would you know? So stop trying to be the authority about what a good artist is and just enjoy the process, and maybe you'll discover that you have a talent somewhat like Scott Jones, who's not here today. Because you fall in love with the process instead of fighting it. Most people, I'm doing a thing tomorrow on learning, but most people when they're learning aren't there like this. They're more like,
Yeah.
I mean, they script their face because when they were in school, they were, do pay attention, and they go, and they don't know what they look like when they're listening to a talk or a speech or a preacher or an inspirational thing. They don't monitor what's happening here because they're trying to pay attention the way they were taught. So we go into these habits that aren't necessarily good. We go into self-talk, self-criticism, thank you, Sasha. And we go into interrupting our flow and our process. Huh?
Contribution.
Sasha's like, hey, amen, brother Rex. And
Love Sasha.
oh God, everywhere I go,
Love those doggies.
oh my God, they're such a blessing. People are like today, oh, the happy dogs are here. Oh, the beautiful, happy, smiley dog. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just every day.
That's cool.
It is so cool. And it has nothing to do with me. People go, oh, you got beautiful dogs. I go, I didn't have anything to do with that. I'm lucky. Wow.
John, you're sitting back just listening. Come on. You got lights, you got everything. We can see you.
Yeah, nice shirt on. You look handsome. Is that right?
He's trying to figure out how to
you got it all going today, brother.
I was just taking some notes and kind of what Lynn had said about the cloudy day, and you know what you need to do on a cloudy day is hang out with sunshiny people, because if you hang out with cloudy people on a cloudy day, guess what? It's going to be cloudier tomorrow. You need that uplift. You need that momentum. You need those few people you can call and text and say, hey, you know what, man, what's going on? Are you having a bad day? How's the market? What's going on? You got a lot of people doing the same thing, but you always have to say, like we talked about this morning, Scott, why do people make resolutions on December 31st? You know what? Today is March 12th. Guess what? Tomorrow's March 13th, a new day of a new year. So it's kind of like you just need those people to kind of kick you in the ass and kind of keep you going. If you're in that mood where you're kind of getting down, you don't want to surround yourself with cloudy people.
No, absolutely. I've never found anybody that, Zig used to say it, positivity wears off, but so does a shower. Go take another one, right? And keep on working to better yourself or to move forward. I mean, it just is everything Pollyanna and everything perfect? No, probably. I don't know what the percentage split is. With yin and yang, it should be 50-50 or theoretically, right? That there's an equal amount of good and less than good. But the point is, it's how we look at it all and what we continue to do with it all. So it's funny, Rex, you talk about your dog. This morning, Peggy goes, weigh yourself. And I said, well, I really have no desire to do that this morning. She goes, well, no, because I want to know what you weigh, because then I want you to pick up Wilson. And I want you to see what he weighs. And so I'm like, I can't pick this freaking dog up. What has happened with him? We got to stop feeding him. And I finally got him up, and we realized he hit 74 pounds. We've got a 74-pound black standard poodle. What is he? Is he going for a special weight class, or what's he doing? I don't know.
And you thought it was all the hair.
No, he's a standard, and but it just is. It's funny because our chocolate Willie was 54 pounds, and he was, we thought he was pretty big, and so now here we've got Wilson, but he's a riot. The dogs are just fun to have that interaction, and boy, talk about feedback. They'll give you feedback in a heartbeat from that side.
Well, what I was going to say is, when you said something about having a cloudy person on a cloudy day, sometimes it's good to have a person that's cloudy on a cloudy day, because what that brings to the table, it shows you that, gee, it really isn't cloudy. If this person is cloudy, the day looks really good. But sometimes when you have a cloudy person there, if you're the brightest bulb in the room there, you should share your light and bring some of your brightness to them. And, it's important to help lift other people around you, because obviously when you can see somebody's dim like that, they need some of your light too. And we forget that, because if you can see they're a little bit down, it's time for you to give them some of your light, because, whenever you can see somebody's down like that, it's time for you to pour into them some sunshine. It's like, I find when somebody's down like that, I do everything I can in my tools to make sure that I can bring that frown and turn it upside down and make them happy and give them something to shine their light to. And I just find that an opportunity to just, do everything I can to just, make them shine and give some love, because we need more of that.
It doesn't take that much, Lynn, because they're so used to being cloudy, they're hanging out with cloudy people. So you throw sunshine in there, and man, they're feeling like $1 million.
Well, and that's the thing, you need to be the light that they haven't had around, and it's, you're probably exactly what they need, and it's your job to help them get out of that. So I just wanted to say that.
One of the things that they say about misery loves company. Being a light, like you're saying, John, about being sunshiny people around cloudy places, sometimes you're the only one doing that. But the thing is, and I was listening to somebody talk about this recently, about the fact that there is no such thing as darkness. It's the absence of light.
Right.
Yeah.
So all we need to do is shine the light, because basically darkness does not smother light. Light eradicates darkness. So the reality is, it's only just one person with light to be able to dissipate a lot of darkness. So basically hold true to that, because the value we bring, the gift we bring, is so much more powerful than those people sitting in their darkness.
Yeah, intuitively, another Zig quote popped in. Can't help it. Zig just permeates me someday. But it's every time we walk into a room, we bring light to the room. The only question is when we walk in or when we walk out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you're right. There's either light or absence of light. There is not, darkness doesn't exist. So you can take, I was speaking at a college up in Iowa, and, it was just like one of the darkest nights, no moon, no nothing, and walked out in the parking lot of this college. And there was one light in the middle of the parking lot. And it was amazing how much light there was in all that darkness. It was very demonstrative that any bit of light modifies that darkness.
Yep.
So that's a great point, Barry. I mean, I think that's really true. And I think that's, we all have that opportunity. Are we the light that comes into the room, or are we the light when we leave the room? Does the room light up when we leave the room?
Mm-hmm.
Talk slower. I'm writing this down. Just real slow.
You'll just have to hit the replay a little bit.
Yeah, what's the replay?
Replay.
Yeah, we all brighten a room every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only question is that when we come into the room or when we leave? So
there you go.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew a lot of Zig stuff, and I had never heard that until a few months ago. And it was just so on point, because we all have these opportunities in everything we do, right? And so again, all that stuff comes down to choice. I mean, not fun stuff happens to really good people who are very well intentioned, that use all the techniques and all the studying and all the different tools to stay in a great place.
Yeah.
Not great stuff still happens to them. I mean, that's the nature of all of it. The difference is they just don't stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they bounce. They've got some kind of mechanism that helps them. It's one of the things that we talked about with John's group this morning. The question I ask everybody is, who motivates Tony Robbins?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Tony Robbins is the great motivator, who motivates him? Well, in reality, Tony Robbins motivates Tony Robbins.
Right.
Because he goes back and he remembers times of great success and is able to do it. I shared that a friend of mine gave me a memory box, and it's about 14 inches by 12 inches by 5 inches. And in that memory box, if somebody sends me a thank you card or an attaboy or boy, you made a difference in my life, or a letter, that's where all those are stored. If there is a time where you get down, you can go and review those things and say, gosh, I made a difference in that one. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the starfish story where people are, there's somebody dancing on the beach, and you see them off and they're dancing and they're chucking something in, and somebody comes up and there's millions of starfish on the beach, and this person is dancing around, picks them up one at a time, throws it in the beach. And the person says, but there are millions of starfish here. You can't possibly make a difference. They pick up another one, they chuck it out there, and they said, I did for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our opportunity is can we be the people who help pick up the starfish and give them life again, put them back into a situation where they can be normal and prosper.
That's actually one way I recommend people do things to make themselves feel better, is if you do something to service somebody who's not as well off as you are. Doesn't matter how bad you think your life is, there's always somebody, frankly, who could use some help. That's the reason I do. I mean, the reason I do my volunteer work on Saturdays, which I started doing, I forgot I hadn't done it for a long time, but started volunteering Saturdays, going out where we distribute food from the food bank to families in need, giving them a box of food for the week. And it's 2 hours of my time, yet it changes my whole mood. So if anybody's feeling like they don't feel up, they don't feel great, they don't feel wonderful, find somewhere you volunteer locally, where, animal shelter, homeless encampments, working with, repainting, group homes, whatever it is, you'll find that you get value out of doing it. You don't get paid for it, at least not externally, but you get internal rewards, and you remember who you really are. Because frankly, I think that's one of the reasons we do this, is the connection we have. It's the love we share, and we do that through service. So I'm a big fan of that for myself.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Habitat for Humanity and
Mm-hmm.
Building homes and coming together and doing things like that. There's so many wonderful projects like that. So I applaud you for that. That's awesome.
I love hearing it every week. And thank you for doing that. If you haven't been thanked this week, I'm going to thank you again for doing that. I think it's fantastic.
I saw a picture posted on social media, because I follow the organization on social media. But it started in 2022, I think. They started looking for it. They finally got this week. They got their refrigerated truck finally.
Awesome.
So now we've got a vehicle we can store everything in. We have a pallet jack to be able to move everything out afterwards. It's so much, because we basically up to this point had a trailer that was basically almost breaking down. It was a 2-axle trailer, but it was like a big tarp over tons of boxes, and then pallets and pallets and boxes and boxes. I mean, I got pictures of it. It was such an insane thing. Now we can actually do it easier and more organized. It's going to be so much of a blessing. So blessings keep coming.
And by the grace of God, it was working up to that point too, so it's just how it's.
Well, here's how I differ. I don't say grace of God in that context, because it was the grace of us, because the people who volunteer, because nobody in the organization is paid. It's all volunteer based.
Yeah.
So we get to do these things together, and we win. Like we had a meeting after last week's session, and we're just talking about how we love to do this for each other. We benefit each other. We didn't know each other before we did this, but we find each other through friends, referrals, connections. We got kids from USC and UCLA coming to help us now. It's just fun to do.
That's
So
awesome.
it's plus.
What's beautiful about that, Barry, too, is how you get over hate is to learn to be around people that you wouldn't otherwise be around. And you can you'll find sometimes proof for your stereotypes and all that kind of stuff too. But at the same time, the more that you help another person and see that they're human like you are, and that they respond to kindness the way you hope people respond to, that kind of, the more that we bridge, gaps between people, and the more we can come together. I could argue that that's why some people don't want us doing that stuff, and why there's a huge industry against understanding and peace and kindness, because we can't be our satellite countries or nations or political parties or whatever. I want to return to a lesson that I described the universe working this way. Let's pretend that you are carrying your food from one room to the other, and you drop your fork, and you get complete by your spoon or whatever, and you get bent out of shape. Go, gosh darn it, then down, you pick up your spoon. The next day or a week later, you're walking, with your food, and you drop it. Go, gosh damn it, I can't, and then some people say, why does this always happen to me and everything else? And the reason why you keep doing that over and over again is to get rid of the response that you're having about how horrible this is. So it's going to keep happening until you go, oh, cool, it doesn't matter. You just pick up the spoon or the fork and go on with it. Then if it drops again, you're not hooked by it. So we get these repeated things in our life, not because some deity is it could be, but what I'm saying is that's not the point. We get them because we react in certain ways, and we do things repeatedly, like some people eat in the den and then take their food into the kitchen. And so they have that opportunity to drop something where somebody else sits at the dining room table. But whatever it is, whatever you find yourself, you're driving, everyday traffic is a bitch, and somebody's giving you the finger, they're going to keep giving you the finger until it doesn't bother you anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, that's the whole point of it, and then some, you go, oh, okay. But until you are willing to, allow for a different response than the one that you routinely provide, you get the lesson over and over and over again.
Like Groundhog's Day movie.
Well, no, I was going to say that reminds me of something I remember in grad school. He talks about a thing called stackers. I think I mentioned on podcast before, on the show before. But the imagery we had of that was these little tiny people up in the clouds with lightning bolts they throw down at us. And those lessons they throw down, like you said, is if we don't know a lesson, we throw in the lesson down for us to repeat it and keep doing repeat it until we get it. Then you start throwing them down, except once in a while they throw another one down just to check to see if we've learned the lesson or not. So the journey is we keep learning, and then opportunity, it's like, because what happens is, and I've talked this in my work about difference between reaction and response. When we learn that what's happening doesn't make a difference to us, ultimately, we just add investment of upset to it to make it feel like it's justified for being wrong, which is a whole bunch of stuff right there. We become detached. And the great gift of this work is that we start to elevate ourselves when we start taking things less personally. Because the other part is also like dropping the fork. We play victim like, somehow it was done to us. Right. We dropped the fork, get over it,
Well, I haven't worked this analogy out perfectly, so it may be a little rough, but imagine you're a poker player, and every time you get a decent hand, you bluff, and somebody, they don't buy it, and you keep losing your money. Well, it's going to happen again and again and again and again and again until you realize I'm the one who's bad at bluffing.
Yeah.
And then you can do something about it. But if you don't recognize your part in it, it'll just keep happening again and again and again and again, because it's coming off of you, your face, everything you do is exuding that you're incongruent in that moment. So the lessons will always come. We find what we need in order to transform, but we don't think that. We don't think, oh, I'm the one who's looking to transform, and so I'm going into these experiences not realizing I'm going into these experiences maybe intentionally in order to transform. I think it's inadvertent, or that it's happening to me from the outside, or someone's cursing me, or these assholes that live across the alleyway, or it's God or whatever. But it's an opportunity to be different.
Nice.
Yeah, very much so. you know, it's one of in the 5 questions that I share with people in any situation. What's the lesson? What's the gift? What did I do to create it? How would I modify it next time to make it better? How's it going to serve me the rest of my life? That third question is specifically designed to say, no matter what happens in your life, you are a participant in it. What did I do to create it? Good, bad, or indifferent. It's not a judgmental thing. But then the next question is, how would you modify that from that place going forward? Right. So again, it shows we tend to so often, like you say, feel things are done to us as opposed to for us or through us or whatever the case might be. Right. But we should say, hey, yeah, I take responsibility for that action. I did some really good work, or I didn't do quite as good a work as I could have done. So this is what I'm going to do to modify it next time.
And to answer Tammy's question, so do you stop playing poker or stop trying to bluff? Well, if you realize that what you're doing isn't working, you have an opportunity to do any number of things. You can stop playing poker, you can stop trying to bluff, or you can get better at bluffing, or you can get better at poker. I mean, any number of possibilities, but the point is that it's in your hands. It's in Scott, as Scott was pointing out, what am I doing that isn't working, and how do I alter my behaviors or my mindset so that it works better for me?
Or change patterns, it's about observing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Einstein's definition of insanity, continuing to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
And you know how many people repeat that and then keep doing the same thing over and over?
Too many.
A lot.
Okay, we got 8 minutes to wrap it up, you guys. So that's
and that wasn't meant as a snarky remark.
No, but I'm going to say it again here in just a second.
Go ahead.
A couple things. We just actually finished up that call today with that realtor, that Ryan Serrano guy. We had a 5:00 call with him, and he said this year is not 2024. This year is 2020 more. And if you wake up every day and go, it's 2020 more, and it was followed up by one of the young ladies on his staff saying, you're the director of your business. The grass is green where you grow it. So pretty much don't wait for other people to plant your grass, man. You're going to do it, and you're going to water it, and you're going to do 2020 more, and you're going to have amazing people like you. And again, Scott, I can't thank you enough for jumping on this morning, starting the day with you guys, and then ending the day with you guys. I'm done for the day. I might fall asleep before Rex stops talking, just so you know, in case I nod off.
I think I go on and on and on and on, but
Thank you, John.
I just want to say thanks for the opportunity, and then we'll continue around. But I had a blast. Great group, and love having the opportunity to share what I've experienced through a few years of being around it all. So, Barry, what do you got to wrap us up?
Boy.
And I'll be right back.
Fine. For me, this is my folks.
Where she's going.
Since my areas and then focuses about relationships, especially relationship with self, this conversation is very relevant because we are tending towards ignoring what we know. And what I love about this conversation, we talk about so many different aspects. And like saying about the definition of insanity, but the other quote I like using is George Santayana's quote, which is that those who fail to learn from the history are doomed to repeat it. It was a quote about wars and countries not doing themselves right. I use it in the area of relationship because if we don't learn what we did in the past, we're going to keep repeating it. People in relationships tend to repeat the same old pattern again and again until they learn to do something differently. So like poker, same idea, Rex. So I feel like the lesson here for anybody listening is if it ain't working the way you're doing it, are you willing to try something different and then see what happens? Simple as that.
Yep. Rex? I
love what John said about 2020 more. Earlier when we were talking about the 2024, it occurred to me that that's if you believe the Judeo-Christian calendar that was set, AD kind of thing. Otherwise, it's like, 5,000 something or 6,000 something or 7. And if you go to a different calendar, it's a different set of years.
Yep.
So the dates change, depending on where you live in the world and what religion or philosophy you adhere to. And if it's not 2024, but it's just 5,672 or 10,863. While that may not seem different, it is. I mean, we think that we know what things are. Like, how many phone calls could you receive tomorrow? Do you know? Do you have an idea? What's an infinite amount of phone calls? Could you have? I mean, could your phone ring every couple of seconds all day long? It could. I mean, it's likely it won't. But what I'm saying is, how many phone calls could there be in a day?
Right.
So if I said dream big, and you go, well, you don't know what the upper side or the outer side or the infinite limit, is. And so people, even with life, people go, well, 70 years, and then they get to be 69 and go, well, I hope I make it to 71, as opposed to thinking, what if I could live to be 9,000 years old? I mean, why not? You might not make it, but so what?
Right.
I mean, our expectations shape an awful lot of what we come to find, if not all of it. And so always expect the best, even when the worst happens. Find the good in the dark, or find the light in the dark and the good in the bad, the silver lining in the cloud, and just look and realize.
Pony in the stable too.
In what?
Pony in the stable.
Pony in the stable, exactly.
That's
or the poop in the grass, that you have to pick up. But the point is, it's always a matter of yet. I haven't done it yet. I don't know it yet. I haven't changed it yet. It's not that it never will happen. You just have to realize that it's possible, and you haven't done it yet, but you can.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we all have so many infinite opportunities, and no matter how much we've achieved or accomplished throughout our careers or life or anything like that, there's still more. It's I don't think anybody has tapped and broken the limit literally on anything, and so I agree with you wholeheartedly. We all have this opportunity to be as, let's be good-er. It's about the right? Be better, be good-er at what we do, but contribute to the greatest extent that we possibly can. Lynn, you're back.
Yes.
Together here, Lynn. We miss Mr. Jones. We wish his voice to come back. I think as we were talking about his art earlier, I'm fascinated by what he does with the art, and he has that creative nature. And
look at some of his art there.
It's amazing. He's just got a different take on things, and it's cool.
Very talented. Very talented.
Very cool. So we wish him well and wish him back. And Lynn, take us away before the bewitching hour so we can play this replay.
Yeah, you guys did a great job as always. It's always great to have you guys here. And don't forget to go check out some of these guys' books that are on Amazon. Barry Selby, look him up, and Rex, look him up, and Scott Schilling. And I've got their book stuff here because I just love the titles of these books. That Sucks, What Now? And then Rex's, and then Barry's. And Barry, I got to get a copy of your new cover.
The new one.
The new cover. So, yes. And really appreciate you guys here. And like you said, and what Rex was saying here, some people, the simple thing, there's some people, they work so hard and they wait till be retired. And then next thing, they pass after they retire. Or some people want to live up to their 90 and then they die a few days after 90. It's whatever you achieve, or, if you set that goal and you don't even see past your goal, you always think that's the end of the line. There never is an end of the line is the answer. It's an infinity thing. It's whatever the limiting belief you have. You got to go past your limiting belief. And Rex, I'm so blessed to call him a friend, a mentor. His book just really sums it all up. I talked to many people lately, and I just shake my head and said, if they just read Rex's book, our conversations would be at a better level of conversation, because we all we're perfect the way we are, but if we realize if we tweak the little things that we say, our lives would be so much better and glorious, because we realize that our words do have power, and it makes a difference what you say to yourself and then to others. Anyways, we got to go. Love you guys. Bye.
Thanks.
You know.
Keeping me safe and sound.